All right, hello everyone, and welcome to the weekly talk show where everything is up for discussion live with me, Jeff, and as alongside, as always, for now, in our 6th year, the lovely Shannon. Hello, Shannon.
6th year.
6th year, kiddo.
Jesus.
Yeah, can you believe it?
All is well. How are you this week, husband?
I am well. The world is obviously wanting to know what's up with you. You were a little
Me?
guest this morning. You came in and graced us on the Jack and Jane show. Brought a little cupcake for our co-host. It was very sweet of you.
Well, I was coerced. I'm just kidding. No, Jane's cool, and that was not a problem for me to come around the corner and do that.
Oh,
I aim to please.
Very good.
So I fed you and your crew.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, birthdays are special for people. I don't know what year she's in, but everybody deserves a little love here and there.
And not to mention the confectionery crack that you bring with you that we all
Crack
fall
indeed.
in love with.
Crack indeed. Where the hell can't get me for that?
No. And it's funny because the FDA guy was supposed to be on this week.
I know,
but,
that was funny.
For some reason, he didn't show up. Are you a suspect of anything that I should know about?
No, not a suspect for any reason whatsoever.
Yeah,
I just expel nothing but greatness out of the shop lately.
Right.
But all is well. The weather seems to be holding up.
It is.
Not much to say about the weather except for ridiculous amounts of tornadoes and hurricanes and black skies. And
well, it is summer.
July kind of sucked.
It is summer. And there was a big tornado just in Boston, about 30 miles from us.
Yeah, I'd say
good
about
friends
30
in
miles
Revere.
away. That's 30 miles.
120 mile an hour winds. And we
We're gonna have
certainly extend our prayers to the families out there that are affected and hope that they can recover. They're a resilient bunch out there. There was no
deaths,
injuries,
thank
thank God.
Yeah, thank God.
And,
I mean, what a miracle.
Yeah, so it's good.
What a miracle.
Good. We want to say hello to everybody watching on your television sets across the world, on your handheld mobile devices, your cell phones, your iPads, your iPhones, and all that good stuff. And we want to say hello tonight to our very, very special guest. Our guest tonight has an extensive background as an actor, an author, a writer, producer, a lecturer. He is a veteran television star on 2 major networks series. He played Will in Land of the Lost. He played Mike Horton on Days of Our Lives. An author of 5 books, creator of PBS's #1 show for preschoolers, Dragon Tales. A little after your time, Shannon, but I'm sure you realize.
No, yeah.
And he also hosted Nickelodeon's #1 game show, Finders Keepers, and that's just getting us started. Folks, say hello to our guest tonight, Mr. Wesley Eure. Wesley, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, Jeff. Hi, Shannon. How are you?
Hi.
We are well, and thank you so much for coming on with us. You have a most incredible resume. When we were reading through everything, it's like, from start to finish. And the thing that really struck me, the first thing that I saw was going through the credits of Land of the Lost. They never even put your last name on there. You were just always known as Wesley. Why is that?
That was the worst decision. That was so horrible. That was a manager thought, at the time I was recording for Motown with Mike Kerr was producing 4 guys. We're the only white boys on Motown. And they just thought, well, we'll just do Wesley. Like Cher. Oh, my God, if I regretted that. It's just been... So the last couple of years, the last 2 years, I think, of Land of the Lost, it was Wesley Eure. So we rectified that situation.
And I found out this week that it still airs in our area on MeTV.
Yeah, he was all excited.
Which is pretty cool. That was
every Saturday morning.
And it's been a Saturday morning ever since the 70s when we were all kids watching you as well.
Mm-hmm.
It is. It's funny because we get a lot of fans. They're now showing to their kids and grandkids. Oh, God.
Yes,
grandkids, and we have all these new generations of Land of the Lost fans. In fact, I'm here in Las Vegas right now. We're Kathy Coleman. She played Holly. We're at the Star Trek convention this weekend, signing autographs. And not that we were a Star Trek show, but all of our writers were Star Trek writers. Like David Gerald, who was our head writer, he created the episode of your Star Trek band, Trouble with Tribbles. A bunch of them. Walter Koenig, who played Chekhov, actually created one of the main characters on Land of the Lost, Enoch, who was the talking sleep sack.
That's cool. Now, going back that far, you were a child star, and you've kind of run the whole gamut. I mean, you go from being a child star to now making child productions and Dragon Tales. Now, the transformation to me is just amazing with everything that you've done. How do you do that? How do you go from one end of the spectrum like that to the other? And I mean, not to mention the soap opera along the way, the major soap opera. But how do you keep inventing yourself like this?
Good agent.
ADD.
Good answer.
I need Ritalin. That's the whole thing.
That's awesome.
Sounds familiar.
Well,
That's
when I was filming Land of the Lost, I was also doing Days of Our Lives at the time, which I did for 9 years. And so in the morning, I'd be at NBC because they let me film all my scenes for Days of Our Lives in the morning, and then I would go in the afternoon to shoot Land of the Lost. So in the morning, I'm crying that my girlfriend is leaving me, and the mafia's after me, and in the afternoon, I'm running from dinosaurs, going, "Run, Holly, run! There's a dinosaur!" And that's all those years of Shakespearean training, and that's what was my life.
That is.
Yeah, you
very
were
cool.
professionally trained. I read that in your resume. That's you don't get that anymore.
My first job was at the American Shakespeare Festival at Stratford, Connecticut, with Jane Alexander and Morris Kornofsky. And these were, like, at the time, were the great actors, and I played Ariel in The Tempest.
Wow.
And I was from Mississippi, and I didn't know what Shakespeare was. I was in New York. I was 17. I auditioned. I had no idea what it was. And I remember I got the part of Ariel, and we rehearsed a month in New York and then played like 8 months in Stratford, Connecticut. So the first day I go on stage, and I have my book, and I'm going, "All hail, grave master, graves to hail. I come to answer thy beck and call, be it to fly, to swim, to dive into the fire." And they go, "Wesley, not on our stage." I go, "What's wrong?" And they go, "Your accent's what's wrong." And they set up a speech teacher named Liz Smith from Juilliard who worked with me every day. And I had to do things like, instead of running and jumping, I had to go running, jumping. And by the end of the 9 months we all worked together, the last night, we had an actor's pub up in the balcony, and the audience was all gone. And Liz Smith, who was this English lady, and she was terrifying. She was very dominant. And she comes up to me, and she's had a little cocktail. And she says, "Wesley, darling," she says, "the most regrettable experience I've had here the entire season of Stratford has been to make you lose that wonderful accent." that was my payoff, and it made me feel so good.
That's awesome. Now, I will tell you this, that the Facebook page has been absolutely lighting up this week when we mentioned Land of the Lost and who remembered it. A lot of folks on my page remember your show and are huge fans. We are going to open up the phone lines to the folks listening. 213-784-0884 is the number to call if you'd like to talk with Wesley, ask him some questions, maybe reminisce about some old series or shows that he used to be on. And he's going to be joining us here for the next little bit on the show. So thank you again for being here for us. Now, also, I mean, you were also on during a time where there were so many great kid shows. There's Captain Kangaroo, Hong Kong Phooey, Zoom, Banana Splits, Brady Bunch, all that stuff. When you were a child star at that time, did you run across the paths of other child stars? Did you guys like bump heads at conventions and stuff like you do now, or were you pretty much kept separated?
No, because you remember back when I was on TV, there were like 3 channels, and so there weren't that many child stars, and so we used to hang out because Law for Publications, which was 16 Magazine and Tiger Beat, which we I do covers for all the time, and Win a Date with Wesley Contest. So all the guys like David Cassidy, John Cassidy, and Garrett would all get together, and I remember. I mean, I've got a photo at my house in Beverly Hills. I finally was making some money and rented this place. And one day Sean Cassidy comes over and Leif comes over to swim. It was really fun. So we did get to see each other and
Awesome.
And hang out a little bit. And the guys from the Monkees, I would run into Davy Jones.
Wow.
And of course, and I used to record with Bobby Sherman.
Wow.
So I used to go to Bobby's house and record, and so yeah, he was great. They were obviously trying to do this music career because in Land of the Lost, I sing the theme song. If you listen to the show, I sing the theme song and the closing song in the show.
Yeah, that's you.
And then in the third season, they thought it'd be a great idea for me to sing in the show a lot, so they gave me a gourd guitar with 4 strings. It was amazing. It sounded like a full orchestra. I don't know what. but we would go record all that music at the Osmond's house.
Wow. Okay.
And so they had a little studio over by the Mormon church in Los Angeles, in Westwood. And I used to go over to their place, and we used to, I would sing these little ditties that they'd write.
That's kind of neat. Now, from doing the child star thing to now creating and obviously being everything there is to do with Dragon Tales. How did you make that transition? I mean, was it something that just kind of brought out the little kid in you that you wanted to give back to the kids? I mean, how did you actually get into that in the first place in your career and making such a swing from going from soap operas to TV to now going behind the scenes and creating Dragon Tales?
Well, I was working with a producer. I was writing and producing Totally Hidden Video for Fox, the hidden camera show.
Oh yeah, we remember that one.
And it was the best job I ever had because I cast myself as the actor all the time, so I got 3 paychecks.
Awesome.
Nice.
And then when that show ended, I moved on. I was doing some other things. The guy that was producing it, I'd written a children's book, and it was his son's favorite child's book, Max, who was, of course, one of the main characters in Dragon Tales. And he said, "Listen, we've got these dragon drawings we found in Laguna Beach, California. We've got an idea. We want to create a show. Can you come over and take a look?" And so they gave me what they had, and I wrote it. And 3 days later, we finished it. A week later, we sold it to PBS.
Wow.
And we beat out the Muppets. We beat out Sesame Street. And, of course, it was eventually produced by Sesame Street and Sony Pictures. So that's how it all happened. So Ron Rudiger, who's this amazing cartoonist, he's an educator, he created these amazing dragon drawings, which looked nothing like the cartoon, but that was the basis, the genesis for Dragon Tales.
It's funny what happens.
Three of us worked on it.
It's funny what happens from concept to completion and how that whole process works. 213-784-0884, guys, is the call-in number. We do have somebody on the line right now from the 858 area code. Go ahead, you're on with Wesley Eure. Hello.
Oh, hey, it's Rusty, Jeff. How you doing?
Hey, Rusty. Thanks for calling in. Say hello to Wesley.
Oh, thanks. Hey, Wesley, how are
Rusty.
you?
I'm good, man.
I actually read, used to be on Nets Game and Password. This was my favorite shows growing up, too.
Aw.
I read online
Nice.
that you used to be on that used to be my favorite show back in the day. So when I grew up in the 70s, and that was my favorite show of all time. Nets Game and Password. I also love Password.
Oh, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
It was
Leonard
great
Law,
about the show. You said Leonard Law. I'm sorry, having just a slight phone problem. That's what's going on. It's just a little delay, so forgive me.
Oh, okay.
So you said Leonard Lost was your favorite?
That was one of my favorite shows. It's been a while. My memory's sketchy, but I remember the dinosaurs in the room had like all the colored crystals that they used to go into, but I can't remember what they did in there.
Right, we had all the pylons, and we had Chaka, the little monkey creature, who spoke Pakuni. And in fact, Kathy, who played Holly, and Phil Paley, who played Chaka, and I are getting together at Dragon Con at the end of this month in Atlanta.
Wow.
So if you guys are around, we'll be in Atlanta.
One of my oldest friends works at Dragon Con. His name's Raymond Rappaport, and he's been working there for years, so you might have even met him at one point.
Oh, nice. I've never done Dragon Con, so I'm really excited about coming. I mean, I hear it's unbelievable. I ran into, not to name drop, but Lindsay Wagner the other day. And I said, I saw Lindsay. And I said, Lindsay, I'm doing Dragon. Remember Lindsay?
Oh, yeah.
Well, she was right next to me at Comic-Con.
Yeah.
Oh, what a nice lady.
Yeah, that's the Bionic
blonde.
Lady.
She's extraordinary.
She's
Very
beautiful.
spiritual. She lectures and teaches about spirituality.
Yeah.
And, and she's written a cookbook. She's quite amazing. And she said to me, she said, Wesley, Dragon Con. She said, oh, my God, you're going to Dragon Con. She says, I ran out of photographs last year. There were so many people.
Poor thing. She's Lindsay Wagner.
That's cool. Now, Rusty usually calls into the show. He's a regular. And he also he brings with him a little talent as well. Do you have the talent on the phone with you, Rusty?
Well, yeah, he's here ready to go.
All right, well.
This one's a little more tacky than the usual ones, so just
Excellent.
kind of fair warning.
Okay, and Wesley, you're all for breaking in new talent, so we're gonna let the little guy rip here, and we're gonna let him do his thing. So go ahead.
Okay, so as you know, he usually just delivers the punchline in this case. So it's a quick joke. There's a very elderly man in his 90s who goes into a confessional, and he walks up to the priest and says, "Father, I have to get something off my chest. I have to tell you something." And he says, "Go ahead, my son." And he said, "Well, I'm 95 years old, and I just won the lottery, and I used the money to make myself look better and younger. And last week, I went across the street and found a girl that was 45 years old, 50 years younger than me, and we had a a one-night stand. And he goes, okay, go on. And then next week I found a 35-year-old woman who was 6 years younger than me, and I had another one-night stand. Is that all? No. The next day I found a 25-year-old woman who's 7 years older and her sister, and we had a one-night stand. Like, is there anything else you want to tell me? No, that's it. When the priest says, well, let me give you your penance. And he says, well, Father, I'm not Catholic. Well, then, son, I don't understand why you're telling me this. And he says,
are you kidding? I'm telling everybody.
I love it.
Oh, yes, indeed. There it is.
I gotta go catch my 2-year-old before he tries to run away. But wait, someone say
Thank
hi.
you,
I'm sorry.
Rusty.
All right. Rusty, good night,
Thank
guys.
you,
Thank you so
buddy.
much. They definitely bring the kids get quite a delivery, I must say.
And the kid,
Very good delivery.
All right, thumbs up from Wesley. And once again, folks that are just joining us, Wesley Eure is our guest tonight, star of the TV hit show Land of the Lost, and also Days of Our Lives sitcom, soap opera star as well. And Shannon, questions from the chat room, we can direct them right
I
to
have a
Shannon.
Shannon question.
Okay, go right ahead.
Wesley, now you, of course, were part of that big show, the Hidden Camera TV show. Now, Jeff and I are huge fans of the newer version, The Carbonaro Effect. I'm not sure if you've watched it yet, which is the Hidden Camera Magic TV show. So it's not necessarily...
Terrific.
It's awful. I mean, awesome. I'm sorry.
Awesome.
Oh, my God. That came out wrong.
It is.
It's awesome, but my husband doesn't believe me that all the people on camera are actually not actors. So can you just confirm or deny that you guys don't use or didn't use actors when there's a hidden camera
No.
show? I told you.
Because if you did, the reaction would be so
I
fake.
told you.
Okay.
I told
All right.
you.
So you're telling me straight up that the people that are reacting to the Carbonaro Effect are really reacting to, let's call it the movie magic that's created with the cameras, but they're not planted actors.
No.
Well, because I don't work on the show, but I would assume not.
Okay.
And what we generally do is we'd set up a bit, and we would shoot 6 to 7 different people at random, and you just pick the best person.
Okay. Okay.
So it would be sort of self-defeating if you set it up,
Okay.
because you could tell.
All right. Well,
It's
then-
true. You could. You could tell. You could tell in their
Yeah,
reactions.
because I used to direct a show right after I left Totally Hidden Video. There was a show on After Friends called Spy TV, which just ran one season, and which I directed. And and we just shot everything in Vegas, and it had to be real. And the thing is, they get meaner and meaner. Candid Camera was so sweet. Compare and then Totally Hidden Video got really kind of nasty, and then Spy TV just got really mean.
Oh, then
And
you got
some
off
of the
their
hidden
rockers
cameras-
now.
Off their rockers.
Off their
yeah.
rockers with the old people. Oh my God.
Oh, Betty White is amazing.
It's
Is that Betty's show?
It
Or no,
is.
Betty's
Yeah.
It is because
Yeah.
you just have these amazing, talented elderly actors that are just completely throwing people for a curve that don't see it coming. I just love that show. I piss my pants every time. But so I told you, Jeff, and I have another Shannon question.
Okay.
So we're gonna make you blush right now, but you made Teen Beat magazine back in the day. How was it being a teen heartthrob? I mean, you had thrones of girls throwing themselves at
everybody.
you.
Everybody wanted.
It was amazing. It was, there was a time when there was just sort of a group of us, including like the DeFrancos and all that group back in that day, and we were usually every issue we were in the magazines. It was pretty amazing. I mean. It was very flattering. I remember there was one day they had Win a Date with Wesley, a national contest.
No
They flew
way.
the winner in.
Oh, yeah.
I had lunch with her, which was extraordinary.
Did you sleep with her? I gotta ask.
It was-
No answer.
I don't think you heard the question.
I mean, so what was the weirdest experience though, being that famous, where you're recognized absolutely everywhere you go at that age? What was the weirdest thing you ever encountered? I mean, did you ever have any problems with stalkers where you actually had to get police involved, or did you have women throwing weird objects at you? I mean, I just have to ask.
Absolutely.
Wow.
When I was on Days of Our Lives, and I was not being very nice to someone, and I'm at the grocery store, and I'm picking up a carton of milk, over there, and some lady goes, "Are you Michael Horton?" Which was my character, and I go, "Yeah, I play Michael." And she opens a carton of milk and throws it at me.
You're joking.
Right in the grocery store. She says, "You better treat Trish better. Do you hear me?" I'm sopping in milk.
What is wrong with
It was
people?
terrible.
No, her name wasn't Betty, was it? Because I know my mother was a huge fan of the show.
Yeah, your
if
mother
it's a
would-
short lady named Betty, I
Your mother would
apologize
never
up front.
have done
No,
that.
my mother would have never have done
Oh my
that.
God.
I had one fan. This woman. She started writing me, and then suddenly every day there was a new letter, and then the letters were getting to be 12 pages long every day. And then she was telling me, she says she sent me a picture of her kids, one kid in a bathtub, like a 4-year-old, and then she sent me a picture of her trailer. She said, "Look, now you're coming to see me, and you take this road, you make a left here and turn there, and we're getting married." And I went, because it started really innocently. It was very sweet, fan sort of thing, and then it took a turn. And I contacted NBC and I said, "Guys, can you please check into this? I can't."
And those were before
Anyway,
the days of
we
Facebook.
got married. It was lovely.
I love it. I knew that was coming.
Terrific.
I knew that was coming.
Touche. Well, regressing back from that a little bit, soap opera star, best makeout session, who would have been with?
Don't say Kelly Ripa.
No, Valerie Bertinelli.
Oh,
okay.
she's cute.
Yeah, she is cute. She was a doll back then.
I started in a movie with Valerie called Chomps.
Okay.
And it was Red Buttons, Jim Backus, Conrad Bain. It's like a Disney film. It's made by Hanna-Barbera, and it plays all the time. And I invented this mechanical robot dog, and Valerie's my girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
And I gave her her first screen kiss.
That's cool.
Well, you weren't her
Yeah.
last though.
And then, and then Eddie Van Halen stepped in. And that was the end of
Yeah,
that.
you then Van Halen stepped
Yeah, unbelievable. He beat me out.
in. So Roger wants to know how it was like to act like Grumpy when he was not. Ask him how it was to act like Grumpy when Grumpy was there when he was not.
Oh yeah,
I'm so sorry, that came out completely wrong.
Grumpy was a Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Oh, all right.
And so we had a giant. We had the largest blue screen or green screen in Los Angeles ever. It was an entire side of a soundstage at Golden Studios. It was painted blue at the time, and everything that was on blue disappears. Like you see, like if you watch The Soup and shows like that, the behind them is nothing but a green screen. It's all just projection, or So what they would do is, we had to be running from the dinosaur. They would say, "Okay, look up there at the light, and that's where Grumpy's head is, and run this way, and be very afraid."
Be very afraid.
So that's how it worked. And Land of the Lost, it looks really hokey now, but back in the '70s when they filmed it, all the special effects were really high end.
Oh, yeah.
And very expensive to do because it was all claymation, some puppets.
That's right.
And it was the very first time technologically that they actually were able to marry blue screen and videotape at the same time. So we got to actually see on the monitors. You could actually see the animation of Grumpy and everything, and so they could put us instantly right into the Land of the Lost environment, which was all the projections.
Fascinating.
So it was the very first time that it ever happened.
And then we're talking 1974. Now here we are.
I was just a baby.
40 years later. Here we are 40 years later. That show is still on the air, Shannon. And I
Yeah.
remember as a kid, that was riveting stuff. I mean, you were glued to your TV set Saturday mornings. And that was, like you said, it was cutting edge, but it was also riveting stuff. I mean, it was very impactful, as a kid seeing those special effects because, as you mentioned, it's something that really hadn't been done yet. So it was pretty cool for kids of many ages, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, and also the thing that seems to resonate when I talk to people today, when they come up to me, there was a family dynamic that was very genuine. I mean, it was obviously written by some of the top sci-fi writers on the planet, David Gerrold and Walter Koenig and D.C. Fontana. But what it was the family dynamics between the father, his daughter, and his son who had lost a mom, and they kept the drama to it. Also, the mother would appear in the mist, and it would be a sleestack, a monster pretending to be the mother. All these sort of things, time warps and time doorways, things that had not really been explored very much in the sci-fi world, at least on television. And so that's why a lot of the if you watch Land of the Lost now, you'll laugh at the effects, because the opening scene looks like it looks like we're coming down a cliff in a tidy bowl with blue water on a raft. But if you listen to the stories and the Pakunis and the language they created, because they really, like Chaka and the Pakunis, his family, they actually created a linguist at UCLA. She created this entire language. If you go online, you can Google the Pakuni dictionary, and you can actually speak the language.
Awesome.
Yeah. And back then, all the kids were speaking the language. There's no doubt about it.
They were. Where are we? Teresa Chaka.
There it is.
Exactly.
He was in Bubble Boy.
Yes.
I'm looking at pictures right now. I love Bubble Boy.
Well, Bubble Boy with Jake Gyllenhaal in the movie. The other day, I'm in my bedroom. The TV's on in the living room, and I hear Jake singing the theme song to Land of the Lost. I run in the other room, and it's Jake on Disney's Bubble Boy, which is a terrific film. It's very funny. But his favorite show is Land of the Lost, and he pretends to be me. And so
cool.
he opens the Bubble Boy basically singing the closing theme song. When I look all around, I can't believe the things I found. Now I need to find my way. I'm lost, find me, living in the land of the lost. So he's singing that, rocking out. And I go in there and go, oh my God, it's Jake Gyllenhaal. So,
how cool is that? I love Jake.
And then later he's teaching a girl he wants to be with, teaching her the opening theme song to Land of the Lost.
Very cool. Now
it's very cool, and they show I get a little residual check every once in a while from Disney.
I was going to ask you, is there anybody that you run into that blows you away? I mean, your first break came from Robert Goulet, for God's sakes. I mean, you were an inspiring artist, I think, selling paintings way back, and your first real break, I think, came from Robert Goulet. Is there anybody that you've met along the way that has just absolutely blown your doors off? And is there anybody that you'd still like to meet today?
Well, when I started the business and I was becoming, popular, I went to this huge fundraiser at the Thalians, which Debbie Riddles puts on, and Ruta Lee, and they raise money for mental health for performers. And it was all the A-listers. I mean, back in the day, it was Bob Hope and everybody. And there in the room, there I am, I'm like 21 or 22, and there's Henry Fonda.
Wow!
And I'm going, oh my God, that's Henry Fonda! Oh my! And I'm with Kay Stevens. Kay and I went together. Kay was one of the Rat Pack. She was the female Rat Pack with Sinatra and Joey Bishop. And anyway, and she just passed away recently. But Kay was on Days of Our Lives, so she was a lot older, but we went together as friends. And I said, okay, that's oh my God, that's Henry Fonda. She said, go talk to him. I said, I can't go talk to Henry Fonda. So I went and was getting a drink, and there was a tap on my shoulder. True story. And it was Henry Fonda.
Fantastic.
And he goes,
wow.
I watch you on TV. I like your work. Wow. And I'm going, I said, well, I like your work too. But so that was my biggest sort of celebrity. Like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm here.
Very cool.
That is awesome.
Cool. All right, guys, we are going to open up the phone lines for just a little bit longer. You can hang for a few more minutes with us, Wesley?
Absolutely.
Excellent.
Cool.
Okay. 213-784-0884 is the number to call in if you'd like to be part of the show. We do have somebody on the line from 774. Go ahead. You're on Up for Discussion Live with Jeff and Shannon. Go ahead.
Hey, Jeff and Shannon. It's John Goodfellow.
John.
Hey, John. How are you?
I was called a scaredy cat, so I had to call in.
You were.
All right. You got a question for Wesley? Go for it.
I actually do. Wes, I think that the cruelest joke that was ever played on me was that you were pitted against Creature Double Feature, where we were played, and my family members and I used to compete for whether we'd watch Land of the Lost because it was only on once a week, or Creature Double Feature. And it was really a terrible decision to be made, but we usually won because my father would weigh in on Land of the Lost.
Well, he's a very smart man.
He is too.
Very good. I
never actually put it in perspective as to how old I'd become until I walked down the hallway last weekend, and my daughter, who's now 18 years old, was getting up out of bed after graduating high school and walking down the hallway what I thought looked like a slee stack. And I said, "Samantha, you look like a slee stack. What are you doing?" And she goes, "A what?" And I just went, "Okay, come with me." And I showed her what a slee stack was, and I was showing the effects that I used to think as a kid were fantastic. And she goes, "Dad, this is the worst stuff I've ever seen." And I went, "Well, for me, it was influential, because these were the greatest effects when we were kids."
Of course it was.
Awesome.
It's all a matter of perspective, and I guess that's where I'm going with this discussion. It's great to think about the things that influenced us when we were kids. Now that I'm turning 45 this year, it's really something for me to put it in perspective that she's, as an 18-year-old, doesn't understand my perspective, and it's kind of fun.
You know what the coolest thing is? How far television has come just in our lifetime. And we've gone from no TV, virtually our grandparents had zero TV at all, to what you see now on the big screen with all the animation and CGI. It's been an amazing ride. And I'm sure for somebody like Wesley that's kind of been in the thick of it, seen a lot of progression along the way. It's got to be fascinating to you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when you're standing on the corner of the TV holding the antenna and trying to get it to adjust just right.
Oh, there you go. John,
they did the. Go ahead.
Oh, God, I was going to say, John, thank you so much for calling in. John is our resident brewer. If you like microbrewed ale, we'll have to hook you up because this guy absolutely delivers the best on the planet. And I'm not just saying that because he's calling in. But
well, I appreciate it. West
thank you, John.
Area, come on down. No worries. Bye.
All right.
Hey.
So, yeah.
I remember, Will Ferrell did the movie. Land of the Lost movie came out with Will Ferrell.
That's right.
A few years ago. And I did a scene with Will in it with Kathy and I played Holly, and it was a terrible scene. They cut it out because they actually cut the entire ending we were in of that movie and replaced it with a scene with Matt Lauer. But so I went to the opening premiere of the movie. It was at Grauman's Chinese in Hollywood, just like the old days. The red carpet, the paparazzi. I mean, really hundreds of paparazzi walking down the red carpet. This whole thing for this little TV show. And I go in, and I hadn't seen the movie yet, so I sit down in Grauman's Chinese, and the screen starts, and it's the movie. And, they turned it into a comedy rather than a family drama, and it was pretty creepy for me. And especially when Will Ferrell, who's playing Marshall, who was my dad, and Anna Friel, who's playing Holly, was my sister, but Holly in this movie is not the father and daughter, it's employer, and it's like the anthropologist and an assistant. Well, when they kissed, I remember when Marshall kissed Holly, I started screaming. I went, "Oh, well, geez." But at the end, they had this huge party upstairs at it's Highland and Vine, in Highland, Hollywood. And I'm with Phil Paley, who played Chika. And we're standing around, and they've got hundreds of people. They've got projections of Land of the Lost. They've got Slee Stack, which are the green monsters. They've got everything. And I look at Phil, I said, "Do you realize that the money they spent on this party tonight is more than they spent on all three seasons?"
I believe it.
Bigger than the budget for all the movies.
It was true.
Wow.
It was totally true.
That's
Absolutely
amazing.
believe it.
Now that's a Hollywood story. Now, just because, and I know Shannon would want me to ask this, she would be remiss if I didn't, because you have the connection there with Will Ferrell anyway. Are we going to see an Elf 2 someday? Please tell us. I mean, the world is waiting.
I agree. Will swore me to secrecy, so I can't divulge that.
Okay.
Oh my God.
All right, well,
I actually would love to see it, to be honest.
well, put it in a little suggestion box for him next time you see him for us. We would appreciate that as well.
Definitely will.
along with doing all of the TV work, film work, everything that you do, you also do a lot of stuff for charity, which we thank you for. We certainly appreciate that. And Shannon hears me say all the time how important it is, we feel, for folks that are in the public eye, be it TV stars, athletes, folks of that nature, to give back to the communities and help people that are less fortunate than them. So we certainly want to mention that and thank you for doing that. But along with all that, there's a little bit of a theater career here going on.
Yeah. I'm producing right now. I'm producing a new musical written by Stephen Schwartz. Stephen wrote Wicked, Pippin, Godspell.
Oh, wow.
So he's, if you like Wicked, this is the guy that wrote Wicked. So we've been workshopping around the country. We were in Connecticut at Goodspeed Opera House last November, and we're pitching it around, trying to put together a tour for next year. Been working on this show for 16 years with Stephen.
Wow.
And I go, Stephen, finish it. Because I just want to do one more production and work on it. So, but yeah, and I love the theater, and I used to do a lot of it, and lately, I have a movie that came out this year called Geography Club, and I have a new movie coming out with Ali Sheedy called Sins of Our Youth, which I think will be out before the first of the year. And I play the police chief. It's about 4 boys screwing around with guns, teenagers, and they actually kill one of the teenagers, and they try to cover it up, and by trying to cover it up, things go terribly wrong.
Boy, that's quite a storyline, especially in today's day and age with everything happening in schools and younger kids now being in possession of firearms. Did you meet any resistance as far as putting that film together, or were you getting any support from families, maybe trying to spread an awareness on something like that with kids with guns?
Well, my friend Frederick Levy at Michael Huffington he was married to Ariana Huffington from Huffington Post.
Yeah.
He was producing. They were producing it, and they actually got, I think, a lot of support from schools and from the community, because it's certainly a moral lesson. I mean, it's pretty sad.
Yeah, it is.
So,
and, in this day and age, us as kids, we never had to worry about stuff like that. I mean, we worried about maybe kids a little bit older than us hid under the desk for the Cold War, but during our lifetime, I remember growing up as kids, it was fun and fancy free. It wasn't really all the stress, I think, that kids have nowadays with all that. But again, kudos for bringing the awareness to things like that, and I'm sure with all the work you do, children involved with just about everything you do. It's a very commendable career that you've had. Now, where can folks find out about the latest and greatest going on with Wesley Eure? What do you have happening, and how can they contact you?
Well, you can contact me through Facebook at Wesley Eure, E-U-R-E, like Europe without the up. But at wesleyeure.com, and you can email me and send messages and things like that. And Facebook has been amazing. I just got asked. I'm going to go to. I'm being honored at Lake Charles Film Festival, a music festival, in October. I'm going to get a Lifetime Achievement Award from the city.
Wow.
And it's amazing. All that stuff has been coming from Facebook. People, reaching out. It's been the most. Listen, as somebody who's had a pretty successful career and then kind of backed away from it for a long time, it's so amazing to be able to connect and talk to people that love the show and fans and interact, and it's really remarkable, because in the day when I was on TV, it was such a distance. You could write a letter, and I'd write you back, but there was no access to any sort of celebrities. I mean, but now, I'll be on Facebook and people will send me an instant message and we'll be talking back and forth. And it's such a different experience, and I have been so amazed at the stories that people tell me, how land of loss or certain things affect their lives, but also about sharing the details of their life and made some incredible friends that were fans, and now they're friends. I have one friend named Corey, and she's a teacher. She teaches a special group of kids in California in a very impoverished area by San Bernardino, and we're from two different worlds, and we have become extraordinary friends. I lecture to her. I have a book called Fish Out of Water, which is about a bird and fish that fall in love and make it work. So a lot of the kids, it's a preschooler book, and a lot of the schools are using it to teach tolerance. Two different worlds, two different families, hating the fact they're together, and somehow this all works out. So I lecture around the country and teach kids about this. And so I lecture her classes every once in a while. And she reads, I have another book called The Red Wings of Christmas, which Disney bought and for an animated feature and hired me to write the screenplay and the songs for Disney, which I did. It's sitting on a shelf.
Wow.
And a lot of schools, every year, they read The Red Wings of Christmas starting after Easter up until Christmas, because it's a chapter book and very small chapters for kids. So it's been, you know, I've had this amazing career that's dealt with kids programming, and I created kids programming, written books for kids programming. I lecture at schools all around the country. It's been an extraordinary journey, an extraordinary gift, and I feel so freaking privileged. It's amazing.
That's awesome. Now, it's certainly not going to ask you what you do with your spare time, because it doesn't look like you have any after all that you do. But once again, Wesley, thank you so much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure having you, and huge thanks to ML for hooking this whole interview up there. And definitely stay in touch. We'd love to have you on again with us.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Jeff and Shannon. I really appreciate it.
Thank
we
you.
do too.
Great guest.
We do too. Wesley Eure has been our guest. We have lots more for you guys. You're watching Up for Discussion Live. Stick around. We'll be right back after this.
Up for Discussion with Jeff and Shannon Sylvia. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Up for Discussion Live with Jeff and Shannon is brought to you in part by Bailey's Bar and Grill, Sasquatch Coffee, and Village Pizza.
And now back to Up for Discussion right here on Pararock TV.
Welcome back to the show where everything is up for discussion, live here with me, Jeff, and alongside always the lovely Shannon.
I'm lovely.
And we do have folks call in from time to time. We thank you for being part of our show. And one of the folks that takes full advantage of that situation on a weekly basis, it's time to go inside the mind of JT.
Oh.
The obscure mind of JT from LA.
Be afraid.
Let's
Be
find out
very
what
afraid.
JT thinks.
Hello, Jeff and Shannon. JT from LA. Well, seems that JT has joined the boycott. This is the second Friday that I haven't shopped at Market Basket. I've taken the side of the employees. They want Arthur T back, and they want all the people that got fired back. They showed on the news a reporter trying to ask Arthur S. some questions before he was getting into an elevator, and this guy comes off to me as real cold. He looks like Gordon Gekko of Wall Street. Remember Gordon Gekko? He was the one that said, "Greed, for lack of a better word, is good. But not only is it good, but now it seems that it's legal." Well, JT will not feed to greed. Comes a time in your life you got to take a stand or you'll fall for anything. And I've taken a stand, and so many other shoppers have. I don't know how this is going to turn out, but there's going to be a winner and a loser in this. And I just hope we as shoppers, I hope we are winners. Bye-bye.
All right, for those of you that are not familiar with that story, you will be soon because it is making national news. A local grocery store chain around here, Market Basket, is now on the verge of destruction because of a major changing of the guard. There were two cousins. One had a majority share, one had a minority share. Let's call it the favorite, RDT, was ousted from the company, and as a result of that, a majority of the workforce is now found picketing outside in the parking lot. Now, that is unique, folks, because they are a non-union company. And I'll say that again, and they are a non-union company. And the cool thing about this is that, here we go, RDT gets ousted, so the workers go, and they stand behind RDT, and they stand outside and protest. So then management goes to them and says, we're going to shit can you guys. And they say, okay, well, screw that. We now have the truck drivers behind us who deliver your goods. We're not going to stock your shelves. We're not going to bring in anything to your stores, and you're going to have no product to sell. So now vendors are shutting them down. Consumers are not shopping there. And this, to me, is what America should be about going forward. This is the revolution that we need. This is where people stand up for what's right, be it a union or not, and say, we're going to stand behind the person that we believe in. We're going to stand up for what we believe in, and we're going to do it at any cost. So kudos to the folks at Market Basket here in the Massachusetts area. And again, this story is catching fire very quickly, Sheena. It's soon to be national news.
We just really need this solved. I really need to get back to grocery shopping. It's just ridiculous. It's a huge inconvenience for me. I mean, I own a local bakery. I used to get my fresh fruits there. Everybody needs to get back to business here. I mean, just shit or get off the pot, people.
All right. Well, what we're going to get back to is the obscure but true, because we can't make this shit up. And we're talking about who does that with our little lovely girl there, Shannon Sylvia. Here it comes. Oh, yeah. When you hear that music, it can only mean one thing. It's that segment of the program when Shannon Sylvia asks, who does that? And now, ladies and gentlemen, I give you Shannon Sylvia.
Folks, so we have amazing stories for you tonight. They're all true, 100%. You can go up and Google them on Reuters or wherever you need to if you don't believe me. The first story hails out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. A little bit of a horrific story. Pennsylvania parents locked their son in a car trunk to cure the son's fear of the dark.
Oh, boy.
No.
That's not funny.
Western Pennsylvania couple is accused of luring their 5-year-old son into the trunk of their car with candy in order to resolve his fear of the dark. They were granted probation this week, according to court officials on Friday. Jeffrey and Danielle Leinhart were charged with felony child endangerment and reckless endangerment for locking their son in a car during 3 trips to the Idlewild Festival.
Wow.
And amusement park in how do you call it? Longinier? Lingonier? I don't know. Some town. Pennsylvania.
Sometimes it sounds like lingerie, but it's really not, right?
Lingonier. Lingon. I don't know. This happened in July. The court records are showing they gave him a flashlight and told him to look for sweets before they locked the trunk at the park, about 9.5 miles from their home. They were accepted into the accelerated rehabilitative disposition program on Thursday, a deal that they pled out with the courts. The mother recognizes the serious nature of what has happened. I don't think we will see her in court again. Jackson says of her client. The incidents came to light when one of the couple's children was interviewed by child welfare officials for undisclosed reasons, and the boy and another sibling, who was 4, had been staying with relatives following the charges. They'll be returning home. The younger sibling, 1 year old, has already been reunited with the parents. Upon completion of 2 years probation, charges will be dismissed and records expunged. The previous judge in the case did not want to allow the Lenharts to enter a rehab program, but Jackson said she was pleased with McCormick's decision. Who does that? This is just awful, and I don't know who, Dr. Phil or whoever you are out there, taught these parents that locking your child into the trunk of a car is going to cure their fear of the dark.
Yeah, no, wait a second. You're trying to teach your kid a lesson, or you're trying to teach him not to be afraid of the dark, but you're teaching him to follow the candy trail into the bad place?
Oh, my God. Really? That's right out of a bad storybook.
What the hell is wrong with
That's
people?
Not going to work. That's a horrible, fearful thing. I would be afraid to be locked into a trunk. I can just imagine this poor child not knowing where he is. He's never been in a situation like that. It doesn't feel safe to him, and that's just disgusting.
No.
No, but that's not how you cure someone's...
No, that's sending mixed emotions to the child.
I mean, God knows what else these people
right.
have done. Anywho, the second story is a little bit enlightening, guys. You're going to get a kick out of this one. If you could imagine one person is somewhat of a regular at a California strip club, Jeff, would you guess it's a famous rapper, a rock star, or a politician?
Yeah.
If you had a choice.
I would go with rapper.
Rapper?
I would go for
Well, we're not talking about a rapper tonight, Jeffrey, because we're actually talking about Stephen Hawking.
Oh, okay.
Stephen Hawking, okay, out of
Studly
Devore,
guy.
California, according to Radar Online, the wheelchair-bound physicist Stephen Hawking frequents a California strip club.
Oh, boy.
Poor man. Well, it's probably the best he can do, and Hawking has reportedly been a member of the Freedom Acres Swingers Club for more than 4 years, folks. The 70-year-old allegedly attends the club with his nurses in tow, and then he has the naked dances grind on him. Oh, my God. He arrives with an entourage of nurses and assistants. Last time I saw him, he was in the back play area, laying on a bed, fully clothed, with 2 naked women gyrating all over him, according to a witness. People who come with Hawking wait nearby and have drinks while he's busy with the ladies. Okay. Stephen Hawking, the ladies' man.
Okay.
You are hot. Please.
Who does that?
Don't stop. Okay. So he'll even take photos with people in the club as long as it's in the neutral area. But Stephen is by far the last person I ever expected to see inside this nightclub, someone said.
Well, lesson to self. You have money like Stephen Hawking.
That
you can
feels
get
good.
big boy ass anywhere you want.
That feels real good.
All right, kid. What else?
Last video. The last who does that in the night. A woman could face charges of disturbing the peace only because she decided to pluck and devour a raw bird on a Montreal metro, according to a viral video. This was a hard story for me to stomach. Canadian police are looking for a woman who was filmed plucking and chowing down on a raw bird on the subway. No, this is not Ozzy Osbourne's long-lost twin
where
sister.
is this?
In Montreal. It's Canadian.
Okay, yeah. And that's in Canada.
It's Canadian.
Right.
A commuter on the Montreal Metro filmed the incident and has posted it on YouTube ever since. Don't leave the show, guys. Wait until it's over. Disturbing clip shows appalled passengers looking on while the woman pulls the bird from a plastic bag, plucks it, and starts eating. "I'm going to vomit," the voice recorder on the recorder can be heard saying. She was eating a raw bird inside the train, and that there's people that are very disgusted by this incident, said the police. They told CBC News. The woman could be charged with disturbing the peace, although it's been speculated that she has a mental illness.
Who does
start
that?
by finding her, and then we'll do an interview with her, and then we'll go for psychiatric care, criminal charges, or both. And she's probably half dead by now, so it shouldn't be that hard to find her. I mean...
That's not exactly la chicken a l'orange, huh?
No KFC. Ouch, that direction. No Canadian KFC.
Yeah, no KFC. That's pretty gross.
Rusty says, why doesn't she just eat boogers? Tastes better, less filling.
And Destination Truth, Nathan, you are correct. That Stephen Hawking story was an episode in Family Guy.
Oh.
And what isn't, by the way. All right, guys, we have just a few minutes left. We want to bring you a very important public service announcement and a very shocking statistic. As you can read there, 18 child deaths already in 2014, this summer alone, from heat stroke. And we're talking about kids that are left in cars. So we are now here on the network supporting the Look Before You Lock Heat Stroke Awareness Campaign, because it is very, very important, folks, because, here we heard the story about the young father who is now on trial, actually, for killing his young child. And since that time, boy, Shannon, I've been doing some research. The stories are everywhere, everywhere.
It's getting old.
These are actually innocent people that have just made horrible mistakes. And, the first that I thought when I heard that story, as I'm sure many of you did, guilty, guilty. How could you possibly have, put the kid in the car? Of course, you have the sideline features of the guy sexing with a young lady and all the other crap that goes along with the infidelities of his, possible and alleged infidelities of his marriage. But what comes to me again is a shocking statistic. In 2014, 18 child deaths from heat stroke in your car. you'd think it's a no-brainer, folks. I mean, your cell phone is attached to you like an appendage. If you forgot your cell phone for a minute, your body starts giving you signs. You start freaking out. You start wondering where your cell phone is. You can't check your Facebook page. You can't return that text message. So guess what? You're not getting too far without your cell phone.
Exactly.
Guys, this is your child. Don't go far without your child. Look before you lock. Make sure that child is with you on hot days. It's not that bad to bring the kid into the store. You know, bring the kid in.
Yep.
Get the kid out of the heat. And God forbid, if you're going to work, it's not an option to leave the kid in the back of the car while you go to work.
Yep.
Get yourself a sitter or stay home, because the result is awful. There's just no other way to put it. The result is awful.
This also goes for, of course, pets and elderly people as well.
Yes. Very good
Yesterday,
point, Shannon. Very good
when I
point.
was leaving Shaw's, it was 85 degrees out
Yep.
in that parking lot. And a woman, this is the second time I've seen her there doing this. There's an elderly, a very, very, very old man left alone with the windows rolled down on the car. But he's left alone in the car, and he's not really respondent. He needs care, and it breaks my heart to see that, because I don't know how uncomfortable the guy is, but what do? You know, you don't just start dialing 911, but guys, just don't leave pets
No.
in hot cars.
And true story, a few years ago, I don't know exactly how many years ago, but we had an elderly woman living here who was accidentally locked out of her condo unit. I believe it wasn't Marjorie's mother, Shannon?
Oh man,
That was
poor
locked out of her
thing.
condo
What a
unit.
sweet
She was
person.
well into her 90s. It was a very, very hot and humid day outside.
Yep,
And this
very.
poor woman we found wandering around the hot parking lot of all places.
Yeah, you did.
And immediately got
She
her
was
inside.
injured.
She was definitely not herself. She was borderline suffering from the early signs of heat stroke. And we got her back safely inside and got her into her apartment.
She had a laceration, and
yeah, she
we
had
bandaged
fallen
her
down.
up. There was blood everywhere, and we got her back into her unit and put on the air conditioning and locked her in, making sure that we located her daughter.
And make sure, guys, that we are taking care of each other. It is very important this day and age. You know, everybody needs each other's help here. The elderly, the pets, the children. It's all very important to look after them, make sure they're well cared for. In the heat of the summer, in the cold of the winter, the extreme conditions with weather can kill people. They can do serious damage to people and tear apart families, tear apart communities. And these are needless deaths. These are deaths that absolutely can be prevented. A lot of support coming in for our chat room, and people there are commenting about how alarming
Yep.
these statistics are. But I'm going to put them up for you one last
ridiculous.
time as we close out here tonight. 18 child deaths in 2014 due only to heat stroke being left in cars.
That's so far, guys.
That's right, and we're still halfway through the summer here, guys. So there is something we can do about it. These are preventable deaths and needless deaths. So we're asking each and every one of you to be aware, to help your neighbors, to be vigilant, and to look around. If you see a pet or an elderly person or a child in the car, immediately seek help for that individual or pet.
Yep.
And let's get them to safety. Let's make sure we all get through the summer and enjoy it for what it should be enjoyed for. And
Yep.
it's barbecues and fun times and music and things like that. We do want to say a quick hello, a couple of quick hellos. Who Does That, of course, is brought to you by Leominster Storage Solutions. We want to thank those folks out there for supporting us and what they do. To find out more, you can call them at 978-466-8887, or you can visit them online at lemonsterstorage.com. And we want to say a special hello to our friends over there at ratpackrecords.com. Joe and the crew over there do a very, very fine job, and we want to thank them for all their support that they give us here at the network. And once again, we want to thank ML, you know who you are, for helping hook up this interview. Great job, and a very fun interview.
Thank you,
We hope
ML.
you guys have enjoyed it as much as we have. And next week, we're going to try to get, I think we're going to get Big Brother Mike on here in the next couple of weeks. We're going to talk about his
I miss
new
him
upcoming
tonight.
venture with Skull Hunter. He's got a new series coming out. And I think you've got a little surprise that we're going to probably post on Facebook, Shannon.
Sure.
You got a little something in the works. So
Yeah,
once
we'll
again,
get
thank you
something.
all for joining us. Thank you for telling your friends. And until next week, guys, we'll see you then. Good night.
you got your claws in me.